Hi, everybody. I'm
Oh yeah.
Steve Schuster, son of Wayne and Schuster. That's right.
Oh,
We were talking about weird yuck yucks headliners before the show because
of
we
course.
usually only talk about Canadian comedy offline. But now that the show is wrapping up,
Now that we
all the
got one foot out the fucking door, who
oh,
gives a
yeah,
shit?
if you thought the professionalism of this program was lacking before,
Look at me. I only wear this shirt to exercise. I'm wearing it here now.
I'm
Fuck it.
not.
Who cares?
I am not wearing pants or underwear. I'm fully shirt cocking it.
Oh fuck yeah. I was thinking the last episode should be really good to leave on a high, but I'm rethinking that. I'll tell you this.
I
Here's the
think it
best
should
thing about
be.
Antonio Inoki. He's dead now. Here's the best thing about Antonio Inoki again. Like I said, he's dead. No
Yeah.
research, not reading any of it. Here's what he did. He invented, I don't know, man. He probably invented fucking the Yaris.
Everyone, look at me. Look at me in the face. I am on fentanyl on
Mhm.
purpose. That's the level.
That
I've been known to smoke some weed before the show. I now smoke fentanyl before the show. That's what's happening for the last 3 months. You're getting
you know
a
what we should
man
do
on
is
fentanyl for the last episode. We should take fentanyl for the last episode and try and talk about. I was
Yeah,
about to
here's something that
reveal
happened to me.
who we're doing for the
Um
last episode, but I'm going to leave that a little secret, guys. I actually have to say
oh
this
yeah.
as a just
We're
to
going to
address
start
the
a
fact.
race war.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is John Hastings. I am the guy who gave Kanye those books that led to those tweets. Can I just say,
Ooh.
welcome everyone to what I've been doing for over a year, which is really examining the far right using social media and fun, hilarious articles. Because
Mhm.
everyone's now like, wait, Milo's still around? And I'm like, guys, Milo is so
Came
much better.
back.
Milo is now a former gay. He refers to his husband constantly as a roommate. There are photos of that said roommate looking very disappointed in himself. He was Marjorie Taylor Greene's intern and now looks like is Kanye's assistant. Also, Kanye is now only being photographed wearing Adidas stuff. What the hell is going on? Kanye.
I like that.
He's a piece of shit. I fucking hate him, but I gotta say this: that guy knows how to stay in the newspapers. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
He also just knows how to be a troll, or it's like, I still
yeah,
wear Adidas. That's all I do is wear Adidas. Fuck you, fuck you.
yeah. It's like oh my god, where's this gonna end, Dylan? We have to end this podcast because if
Well,
not,
this
we
is
would
what
just
we
have to do a
wanted when we
year of
started out
Kanye.
7 years ago. We were like, we'd like to talk about wrestling, but mostly just bring back fascism, and we did both.
We really did. It was a weird goal where we were like, listen, there's not enough guys like us shouting shit like ivermectin or
Mm.
adrenochrome
Mm.
or just screaming like kill the cunt. And now there are. Our job is done.
We're gonna go into the manosphere, but like, you know
Oh, I
how
would love to
everyone
go
else
into
in the
I
manosphere,
would love to go into the manosphere. It's my favorite. Go ahead.
but everyone else in the manosphere is like actually jacked. Like they're actually whatever you want to say. They're like, oh, I only eat butter, or if you see celery, shoot it with a gun that you have to have on you at all times.
Of
That's
course.
what they'll sell you. But what they are on is steroids, and they treat their body well. We're gonna be like, health is important. Don't be a piece of shit, but still look like this, and maybe worse. We'll just
Yeah.
be fucking ugly, pasty men. I'll get a really high def camera so everyone can extra see my skin disorders, and I'll be like, if you are overweight, fucking kill yourself.
Yeah. I'm also what I'm going to start doing is a lot of those very awkward. You know how people can like cut themselves into certain images on Instagram and then they react to it, but like when people above the age of 35 do it, it literally looks like a cop has shown up at a teen's party and is like Justin Bieber music. What are you guys, a bunch of gay lords? You know what I mean? That's what the vibe. I'm going to do exclusively those reacting to Lady Gaga tweets like
Oh.
people aren't monsters. Stephanie being one of those guys that refers to celebrities by their real names.
Oh, that's good.
It's really good. They're my
No,
personal
you should be.
favorite.
Hear me out.
Go ahead.
We stop this podcast, right?
Yeah.
And then we just become those assholes who watch female comedians online split screen and don't laugh.
Oh, yeah. I've heard
To
that.
be fair, I could do that with like. Here's something about any.
You can do that
comedian.
with anyone.
Anybody, anything,
Yeah.
anybody. Unless it's the scene in Joe Dirt where all the poop falls on him, I
Nope,
cannot
you
laugh
can't-
at
that-
anything.
I'm sorry that the entire movie that Joe Dirt is 90 minutes. It's a thrill ride of comedy.
Mm.
Name one issue you have with Joe Dirt. Go ahead, Dylan.
Not enough Kid Rock.
That's right. I would say that that's correct. I think the movie should have starred Kid Rock, and he plays Joe Dirt and the bully in the town.
He should have, but the bully should have won. I
Oh,
think it sends the wrong message that
I don't
bullying
watch the
doesn't
end.
work out sometimes.
I assume that Kid Rock won. I just
He fucks him. He fucks Joe Dirt, and Joe Dirt goes, "I like this now."
in the what I do is 75 minutes in, I just
Hmm.
splice in the
This is a real. Sorry, go
American
ahead.
Badass music
That's
video, and
sick.
then I just watch that.
This is a real. Depending on someone being exactly 35 or 36, like you know what I mean. If you weren't born outside of like 4 years, you have no fucking idea what Joe
You,
Dirt is.
unless you were born in the shadow of Live Aid, you do not know what Live Aid is, and more importantly, you do not know what the American Badass video is. Because let me explain it to you. There was a moment, a very brief moment, where everyone was like, "Let me tell you who the future of rock and roll is," and that's Kid Rock. And everyone was like, "You had me at the fact that his last name is also the name of the music he plays." And he released an album of, I think, rap covers of country songs, and the single off of it was him rapping to Metallica's Sad But True and a song called American Badass, which was then used as the Undertaker's theme. And let me tell you this, they played that video in Canada every 45 seconds, and it is
Yeah.
insanely
Well, that's the
good.
loophole with this is the Kid Rock thing is that he found a loophole, which was since he started out as a rapper, he would do quote unquote samples. But how rappers do samples is they take one part of it and then
Yeah,
loop it and then add stuff. Kid Rock took the whole song. That's it.
he would
Like
just take
he did that with fucking Sweet Home Alabama, and the song was Sweet Home Alabama,
Alabama.
but he
Isn't
just
it
made it. No,
his
he just
own?
made it about how good he thinks Sweet Home Alabama is, but it's just Sweet Home Alabama the
Name
song. Also, he's
one
a rich
problem
kid
with
from
name
Detroit.
Detroit. Oh yeah. There's, by the way, nothing worse than a rich kid from Detroit. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're all going to have an hour free a week. May I recommend to you not the whole podcast, just the clips of Bill Maher's podcast, Club Random, because it is literally watching a 60-year-old trying to be a 40-year-old. Like, it is the craziest thing ever.
That's
Because
so
it's.
sad.
Have you watched that podcast, Dylan?
No, no, and I
Oh,
never will. I can't. Bill Maher makes me feel a
yes,
level
he
of
does.
hate that I
Yes, he
used to
does.
go to pro wrestling for.
Yes, he
Like Bill
does.
Maher is
Completely.
like what
Correct.
MJF wants to be is
Yes, he
Bill
is.
Maher.
And this podcast is him unfiltered. What you do not realize is that him on his show
He's
is
even more annoying.
He is even more annoying.
That's fucking crazy.
It is amazing. And there's an episode with him and Kid Rock, and it's literally like watching two old Alzheimer's men who think they're agreeing with each other, not listening. There's a 3-minute clip that's insane where Kid Rock keeps trying to shake Bill Maher's hand to say that welcome to the Republican Party. And Bill Maher's like, I guess you're not paying attention to me. And it's just like, you guys, you both have so much money. Like, I'm officially done. Any celebrity, if you have more than $10 million cash and you're on television, you're a loser. You're a little bitch loser. If I had 10 in this economy right now, if I had $10 billion cash, you know where I am? Ass eating island, filling my boots and having my boots filled.
This is what I don't understand, where it's like,
Dylan's not invited.
I just don't understand, like, why
Go ahead.
would you do anything but like weird things that make you happy after making that much money?
I agree. I have like almost no money, and I'm trying to only do things that make me happy. Do you know what I'm
That's
saying?
why we have almost no money.
Yeah, but I'm fine with that. I got a desk now. I haven't had a desk in months.
But your
Here's the
almost
thing.
no money and actually almost no money are two very different things, John.
That's very true. Because I secretly.
Our almost no money is like, oh no, I can't just go buy a fucking TV now.
No,
versus,
it's.
like-
I've gotten pretty close. The COVID years, there were a
We
couple of
both
moments
have.
where it was. Yeah, what it is we have a safety net of if worse comes to worse, I
Yeah.
could call a family member, or I could just
Yes.
go into debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's not the direst of situations. My
I
personal.
can't wait to,
favorite-
by the way, I can't wait to skim over this fucking loser's career now.
Oh, who? Fucking Antonio in a not gonna be Giant Baba? Yeah. Guess what?
He beat
Antonio-
Andre the Giant via
everyone did. Everyone
count
did.
out at
Everyone did.
MSG
You
in a
fucking
singles
loser.
tournament.
Yeah,
Continue with
I did it.
talking about whatever the fuck you want,
I
John.
did that too, by the way.
I
did
can't.
that too.
I can't. I'm gonna fuck. Someone's gonna fucking listen to the old feed of this and be so pissed with just
Oh, yeah.
90 minutes. We're gonna try and give as little information about this guy as possible. Continue, John. What were you talking about? What random bullshit were you saying?
Oh, that's a great point, but it's not random enough bullshit for this game. Okay.
Okay, good.
I'm going to talk now exclusively about the
Can I talk
flight.
about something that I said
Yeah,
that's not
of
funny?
course. Of
Okay.
course. Why would it? I hope it's not funny for this program. We stopped doing comedy about 2 years ago.
No, this is good. This is good because it's both. It's both is like I guarantee this is someone's bad stand-up joke, and also like
I really
not
hope
about
now
wrestling
you're about to
whatsoever.
hit a
And
premise
I
that
would
I
like to
have.
say I've been making more soups lately, and
Oh,
soups
fuck yeah.
soups don't get sold, and the reason is you can't eat them while driving. That's
I
it.
completely agree with you. And that's an interesting gap in the market. You know who else identified a gap in the market?
Who?
Antonio Inoki.
No,
Espe-
John, that's not what this is about. This is
okay, great.
about this is a full. You know how most tweets are just like most tweets. Sorry, most trolls are just like a tweet. This is a whole podcast that's trolling someone who just wants to learn about a dead man, and we're not letting them.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was trying to just plant in some facts where they almost think they're about to learn about him, and
Oh,
then we
okay,
do
good. No,
exactly
do
what we're
that,
doing.
please. Yes,
What we're doing
and then
right
I'll talk
now.
more about soup.
Well, let me say this. Ask you this about soup.
Sure.
Do you like it chunky, or do you like it?
Blended. I blend all of them.
Oh, interesting. See,
Except if it has meat in it, I find that weird. Then it's like I've watched too much baby food with beef in it be consumed to not be like this is baby food. But for some reason, if it's blended, there's a carrot and potato soup I made. I blended. It's not good. I can't
I want.
cook even if I follow the recipe. Just something happens while I'm doing it where it's not just not good.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I think that then I think you know what the problem is.
What?
The recipe. You know who else had a
That's
problem
true.
with recipes? The Funks when they were working for All Japan, which is why they headed over to.
New
You're supposed to
Japan?
interrupt. No, you're supposed to interrupt me there. Come on,
Oh, okay.
man.
Fuck.
Don't
No,
you
I
know how
got
to
fucking.
troll?
No, let's fucking. All right. Him and Backlund had a
No,
rematch at
no, no, no,
Budokan.
no. We're not doing
60
this. We're
minute
not doing this.
draw.
You know what else draws for 60 minute? Me
For
doing stand-up
draw, 60
comedy.
minutes, Bob Backlund drew Antonio Inoki. So beautiful.
Oh my God, your
Yeah,
chin
take that pun.
is
Suck that pun out of your fucking assholes.
great.
Yeah, he just like wrestled people who were like legitimate shooters, but it was made up fighting. So, blah.
And let me
Who
say
gives
this:
a
but
shit?
Antonio Inoki basically was the Conor McGregor of the '80s before social media. So I guarantee he was saying wild shit in a press conference, but just no one was there to write it down. Like Antonio Inoki really strikes me as the like, let me tell you why I beat Bob Backlund, and that is because the Armenians deserve to die in that genocide. And they're like, what the fuck, man? And he was just like, what? What? Am I crazy? Am I like that? Antonio Inoki really strikes me. He really has Elon Musk energy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's just kind of like, bro, every time you open your mouth, you sound poor. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
I do really, really. Oh, Inoki beat a bodybuilder and
I
a
love this. I
strongman,
gotta
Mike
tell you,
Dayton. World
this
Martial Arts
period,
Championship.
this period,
Mike Dayton's martial art was, of course, just doing curls. Inoki
yeah.
kicked him in the face, and he was like, "I can do curls better than that."
Mike Dayton was a guy who just hung out at a gym, and he basically looked like the Liver King before social media. Antonio Inoki found him, hired him, beat the shit out of him, and then murdered him in front of his entire family just because he was like, this guy thought he was better than me, and he was like, everyone was like, no one thought he was better than you, Antonio, and he was like, that's Mr. Antonio. And they're like, what? Basically, Antonio Inoki is Hulk Hogan. If Hulk Hogan was who he became in the 2010s, before he ever was even Hulk Hogan, and he's also Vince McMahon. Like Antonio Inoki is kind of like, you know how some people when it comes to Trump, they're like, you know what's really scary? Whoever comes after Trump. Antonio Inoki is like, what happens if Hulk Hogan gets all control and hooked? Like Antonio Inoki is like Hulk Hogan is the Terminator. Antonio Inoki is Skynet. He has an entire company that is competing with another man's hugely successful company at the same time on the same days in the same cities. Giant Baba has created this whole ecosystem of American monsters feeding into certain people that he's the final face of. Antonio Inoki is like, this guy one time towed a bus through Dayton, Ohio. I have flown him to the Egg Dome, and we will fight with swords.
But I really like the idea of like, okay, yeah, I don't have any. Yeah, you have all the wrestlers. I'm just gonna fucking hire some guys who actually won Olympic gold medals. Just walk them through some matches that look maybe like shit, but who cares? I'm not your wrestling. I'm martial arts, and that all pays off. August 26th, 1979. Budokan Hall sold out. $1.1 million gate in 1979. Baba and Inoki win the Tokyo Sports All-Star Dream match against Abdullah the Butcher and Tiger Jeet Singh. This set up a Baba versus Inoki match, but obviously what the fuck? That didn't happen because,
Imagine
of
what the
course.
negotiations were. So they both are like, okay, at the same time, I'm going to count to three and say what you want from the match. One, two, three. I win. He is murdered by me, and then I piss on his wife. And they're like, wow, so specifically accurate. And they're like, that's what Ricky Dozan wanted. On Ricky Dozan's deathbed, he brought both Antonio and Giant Baba to him, and he was like, look, when I die, I want you guys to have a fake wrestling match that ends in one of you murdering the other and then pissing in that person's wife's vagina. And
This,
it's called
yeah.
making the golden jacuzzi. When you do that, I will be reborn. I will be reborn. Because as you guys know, Ricky Dozan is, of course, a big fan of the water sports. They call me the lifeguard because I love being near water.
When you're that drunk all the time, to be fair, he probably did like getting fucking pissed on. Why not? Just whatever.
Oh, betcha.
I'm
Yeah.
used to cum. Let's switch it up.
My doctor says I should hydrate.
I'm pissing my fat mouth.
Don't aim for my mouth. Just if it happens to get there.
All right, piss in this bidet, and then I'll sit on it, and then all the piss will
Yeah.
get in my ass, and then I'll nut. Ricky
Did you-
Dozan's finisher move.
Did you know that Ricky Dozan's finisher move is just being sat on by Abdullah the Butcher, but Abdullah might be naked or he might be leaning on me. I just have to tell the difference between the folds and the asshole.
Yeah, the ass-to-ass scene from Requiem for a Dream was just Ricky Dozan's finishing move.
Yeah, did you know that Abdullah the Butcher
Ass
can
to
actually
ass.
he can ass to ass himself?
Really?
Yeah, he can smush his ass folds onto his like side folds that looks like an elephant's ass, and he goes self A to A. S A to A.
It's crazy that people were like, wow, that guy's scary. And then you look at him now and you're like, that man has really like he has nana breasts.
Well, here's what you realize is because gentrification in the same way didn't exist. So every city just had a part of downtown that like wasn't filled with restaurants and bars
It
and
had
places to play
savages
ski.
in it?
Yeah, it just had
That
like
cooked people?
it just had people. You were just told by the news, like, if you go down to the Donnybrook area, you're gonna get fucked by a train spike, and then you know what I mean. And then so like you just saw someone who looked weird. You're like, that guy probably lives in Coyote Ridge with my uncle Rick. You know what I mean?
But this is the thing. We're talking about after the Ali match, Inoki does basically establish himself as just like with that formula, just establishes himself as a top star on the level with Baba, so they kind of have to eat it. Like he gets to wrestle all Japan guys like Stan Hansen and shit.
It's
He
really
beats all the same guys Baba
I do
does.
find it really fascinating in that the Japanese feuds over wrestling is so much more sort of like there's so much more gentlemanly. Like you know what I mean? Like, oh, I hate this man's guts, but we will cross promote so we can both make money and make sure not to pay the wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like it's like they're like, I hate this man, but as long as he's making money and not Dory Funk Senior.
And it is it is fucking cool because like why don't they do stuff like this like with Lesnar or with like now that like it seems like wrestling is super easy since Bad Bunny and Logan Paul are both very very good at it. Why don't you just have dudes fucking wrestle like why wouldn't you get like Tyson Fury wrestled a match? Why don't you have like a wrestler on the roster who's like I like literally do the exact same thing like I won the martial arts title. I'll fight Tyson Fury, and then you beat Tyson Fury, and then everyone gets naked and shoves some fucking shampoo bottles up their butt.
Here's, I think, part of the reason I don't think Tyson Fury would go for it because he's like, no, I'm going to need to win because I have to go back to my other job where I'm known as a winner. You know what I mean? Like the reason why it works with Bad Bunny and Logan Paul is that their fans are just like, oh, they're on a zip line. They're not like, they don't give a shit. But like Tyson, like
you think Tyson Fury would be like, no, then I've technically lost the world heavyweight championship.
Yes, I guarantee Tyson Fury would say that because Tyson Fury is I believe, Tyson Fury's British, and that is so a British person of like, well, it's fake, Tyson. You're just being paid to be here, and he's like, yeah, I still need to win though, and you're like, fuck, why didn't you bring this up earlier? And he's like, well, I assume you knew, and he's like, no, we wrote it in the contract, and he's like, you assume Tyson Fury reads, you know what I'm saying?
So let's talk about his match against Willie Williams, February 27th, 1980, at Sumo Hall, 11,000 fans, 350,000 in attendance, huge television audience. This is a legendary match in Japan, and it was actually huge in the Jackmanese comic book world before it ever happened.
This is so insane.
17 years later, a rematch would happen at a sold-out Tokyo Dome and be a highly rated television show. The match itself was not a real fight, but in fact voted the greatest fight in Japan of the 20th century, and the story behind the match was even more interesting than the match itself. John, are you ready to learn?
I'm so ready to learn. I got to say this about Japanese wrestling. Here's how it sells it. It's basically like, hey, are you ready to be confused in an intriguing way?
Mm-hmm. Too bad. I'm talking about soup. So I blended
Okay.
the potatoes in.
I have a question
and I have
for
a
you.
lot of potatoes, John. Yes.
Now, when
I'll
you're
answer any
blending,
question about the soup.
of course you will. Now, when you're blending the carrot, do you always make sure to really blend it? Because you know what always annoys me when there's like a stray
Tell me,
little
John.
loose carrot chunk. Because I like
So
a
here's what you do:
blended
is
carrot. Okay, great.
you have to dice it, and then you put it in and you boil it. Obviously,
Of
it's
course.
boiled.
But sometimes when you're in the blending process, you just miss a little hunk. You know what I'm saying? So how long are you blending?
No, because it's boiled, so it's already soft. So you blend
So
it.
it's already soft. It's totally fine. I
Yeah.
see. I've still ended up with carrot chunks every couple of times when I've blended my delicious soup.
You gotta fucking go in there and spoon it out
I
before
agree.
it's like you just have a bunch of liquid vegetables. It is pretty much baby food. I made it, I was like, oh, my kid will like this, and he went bleh, like immediately, and I was like, all right, I guess I gotta eat some extremely passable soup.
I got to tell you
Anyway,
right there,
Willie Williams.
that's a
Yeah.
dad move right there. Is by the way, is just feeding it to the kid. The kid goes no, and the dad's just like, sweet, this is food that I get to eat whenever I want, possibly
Oh,
shirtless,
Christ.
spotlessly in front of the fridge.
There's no like soup isn't like ooh I can't wait to fuck. I've had a hard week at work. I better have some soup.
I hard disagree with you. I have at the Edinburgh Festival, Dylan.
Sorry, I had 3 soups.
That's the
That
thing
never
is
happens.
you never say that. You always go. You want to know why I'm very satisfied? Because in my belly right now is it's like coffee. It's like meat coffee with delicious greens that is going to satiate me for some time.
That's why soup places never take off because who would have like 2 soups in a row?
Incorrect.
Go
There's
for it,
one
go
soup
for it.
place in the world
Okay.
that has taken off that is in
Subway?
Edinburgh. It is Subway. It is a place called Subway. I've never heard of it before. Never seen it anywhere else.
Whoa.
Yeah. So Dylan, you know how Subways in Toronto is the train that goes underneath the city? It's a subterranean way.
Yeah. Okay, I'm following you.
Now imagine if there was a sandwich that tasted the way that place looked.
Ooh, it tastes like ground. Do you want some chicken
Poor
breast with a
timing
side of
decision.
ground? We have to. It has to have ground in it.
Yeah, hi.
Ground what? Just ground. Make
Welcome.
it on the ground, to throw it on the ground, your option. But this
Let
thing's
me ask
touching
you
the
a question
fucking ground.
before we continue to not talk about Willie Williams.
Sure.
And that is when it comes to fast food staff, would you say Subway is the saddest? I'm going to say Subway is the saddest. McDonald's is always the
Really?
most intriguing. I always find McDonald's staff always, I'm like, there's a hierarchy. There's just always, McDonald's always has a couple of people where it seems like you've been here for 20 years. You're a grizzled McVeteran. Subway really feels like someone like was having a beer in a bar in Portland and then just woke up shackled to a fucking Subway cash station in Leicester, England. Like, I guess you can have meatballs.
I don't know. Here's the thing about Subway, though. No, I will say this: they are not even close to being the saddest. I remember when I worked at Second Cup in Toronto, I walked into a Subway, and the teenager behind the counter was just playing like hardcore music, and I thought to myself, "Wow, this guy can control the music. He has more power than me, and I'm in my mid-20s."
Oh yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like you can pick the music in a Subway. You can fucking.
I worked at a Jabba U and almost got fired because I put on the Opie and Anthony show to listen to while there were customers.
I mean, yeah, that's a bad. Why would you do that?
I wanted to listen to it. My manager was like, "This is very inappropriate," and I was like, "I want to listen to this." It was an interesting.
Yeah. Then you call her a whore and you push her off from a mountain.
That's right.
Why is this bad?
Tell me more, Patrice O'Neill.
But that's the cool
You're going to
part.
be needlessly argumentative, and later that summer I would meet you, and you came across like the biggest cunt in the universe.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about when we grew up is like you could like something like that and you wouldn't necessarily have to become a fascist, but now you do.
Yeah,
you can't just be like, I like Joe Rogan. You got to like it all. Everyone thinks you just like it across the board.
Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, I'll pop on a Joe Rogan experience only when he has anti-vaxxers on. I want to get the facts.
Here's the interesting thing, though. So
about Scoops or about... Okay, we're finally talking about Willie Williams. Okay, great. Let me ask you this, Dylan.
I'm going to read off who Willie Williams was.
And at the end, I'm going to tell you what soup Willie Williams prefers.
he placed second in the World Karate Open tournament. Or sorry, at the second World Karate Open tournament in 1979, he finished third.
That's a
So this
that's a guy who
isn't
likes a
even
nice
like.
farm soup. You know, like a barley with rice and some chicken cubes.
I think barley is like. I don't know what people are thinking. Why would you buy barley specifically?
You never buy barley specifically, but if
Oh,
there's
you
like a
just find it in
barley,
the
if there,
yard.
of course, yeah. If you're wandering through your field and you're like, I need a delicious,
Oh
nutritious
yeah, you
soup
have a
before I go
field.
and challenge Antonio Inoki, I will deliciously eat.
What accent was that?
That would be whimsical French.
Oh, that was Italian. We're like Antonio.
Hey, Antonio Inoki, come and eat us some of my gnocchi.
By the way, that's what Robert Evans said when he made The Godfather. He was like, this project's going to be covered in spaghetti. That's why we said we're going to get actual Italians, and people were like, actual Italians? Disgusting.
That's right. You're reading The Kid Stays in the Picture. That
I
book
read it.
is wild. It's very good, but I gotta tell you, that guy is like the biggest name dropper in the world, but also such weird names because none of them are that famous anymore. Like he was like, and then I was having dinner with Jimmy Carter's chief of staff, and you're like, that
Yeah,
guy's
it's like
dead now.
he
Who
made
gives a fuck?
4 or 5 of the biggest movies ever, and then just like never had a hit after that, seemingly.
That guy. So what he would weirdly do to maintain prominence in show business is he would host all of the like cable stations in the 90s and 2000s. Like they weirdly were making some money, but mostly what they were profit centers for their like multinational corporations, so they didn't want to spend any money on them. So how Robert Evans like stayed in the game is he would host all of their like season launch parties at his house. So there's so many stories of people like Doug Stanhope in his book stole a bunch of photos and kept asking him for blow. Like there's so many stories of people just like going to Robert Evans's house, and like you have to go weirdly meet him, and he'd be like, you want to see where I shit on Warren Beatty's dick? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
My favorite thing is after Ally McGraw's second marriage or something to Steve McQueen fell apart, and a bunch of people called him asking if they could try and fuck her, and he's like, "What are you talking about? That's not my wife. Why wouldn't you call Steve?" And you're like, "I don't know. Steve's scarier than you." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Try and yeah." But Jack Nicholson calls yourself like, "Hey, I heard your wife is free. Can I fuck her?" And then you're like, "Yeah." It's like Hollywood. Hollywood pre Me Too was fascinating, where it's like even the classy guys are calling the men to ask the men if it's okay. The women don't. She'll fuck me. I know that. I'm Jack Nicholson. We're fucking, but I just have to ask this man.
I need to ask this man for permission. You know, it's not like I want to sleep.
Hey, I'm Jack Nicholson. I'm just calling you her grade 6 boyfriend. Can I fuck her? What? How'd you get this number? Never mind.
I have to ask a man.
I have to ask a crossing guard or somebody, but a woman can't make decisions. The nearest man has her, what do you call that? Things. Whatever.
I'm going to say this.
Willie Williams plays third. So we were talking about Tyson Fury.
What?
You don't have to get Tyson Fury. You just get the guy who's kind of good, and then he fights Roman Reigns or whoever for the World Martial Arts Championship. Welcome back
to the soup cast. Dylan, settle the argument. Tomato soup for grilled cheese, ketchup.
What? I hope
do you dip it in tomato
soup?
No. Do you dip your grilled cheese in?
Eat it dry like a man.
Absolutely not. Go fuck
yourself. Get a job.
Oh, I didn't realize I was dealing with yet another New
Get
York comedian who's shitty.
Let me tell you how to be tough. I'm going to tell you how to be tough.
That's not tough.
Yeah,
that's
tough.
just good fucking
loser
life. That's just good life.
You're a loser. You're the kind of guy who jacks off in a Home Depot.
I don't know what. I don't know there was that many that's a type of man that exists, but sure. That's a type of guy. I don't know if there's like, yeah, some people like emo music and other people full masturbate in Home Depot.
Same guy. It's the same guy. They listen to My Chemical Romance in the parking lot and they go, I'm getting a chub. Let me go hammer it out by the hammers.
So Willie fucking shitty fucking punk bitch.
What the fuck happened there?
Huh? Oh, that was my lights.
Okay, good. We're talking about Willie the bitch Wilson. He is.
No, we're not. Wait a minute. It's not Williams. It's Willie Williams. All right, here's how good we are. Willie Williams came in third in a karate open. Then he fights. But this is true. Like, this is fucking what I'm saying. Like, you don't need to have Tyson Fury fight your main dude. You can just have a good boxer.
You really do. You really do. Because, by the way, right now I'm like, Antonio, you suck. He's like, I couldn't beat Muhammad Ali. I will build my own Muhammad Ali. Get me Willie Williams.
Williams is 6'7", 230. He became famous as the top foreigner of Masoyama's Kyokushin School of Karate. He was very popular. There was a very popular comic book based on Masoyama's karate in the 70s. A name famous to wrestling fans because he created the pro wrestling Tiger Mask character in comic books. The guy who wrote that comic book led to a television series and led to, of course, Satoru Soyama
I
being Tiger
love
Mask and making all those W matches. Good for it.
NW. I love Antonio Inoki. He will find an angle to beat Giant Baba. Oh, you've got the Tiger Mask? I got the guy that inspired the guy that wrote the comic about that, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. Like, it's just so fucking. It would be like if, okay, the NWO was kicking Vince's ass, and so then Vince went and hired the Japanese stable that the NWO was based on, like the old soldiers versus the new guard or whatever it was, hired them and then drowned them all in a river on Raw as like, I just beat the NWO. It's like, that's not the same.
So there was hope to go to a secret location and work out a match, like Inoki had done with non-pro wrestlers he had worked with, but there was a double cross or fear of it, and led to that not happening, so they just fucking went into the ring, baby. Karate proved it was by far the more famous of the two, other than the other way around. However, TV Ashai was the key money people, and Inoki was their guy, so he was not going to be put in position to be shot on or lose. And movie people and karate people were involved in a number of secret meetings trying to work out how to work out the compromise on the match. So it's like basically how Sinatra was the go-between between JFK and the mob. They had to have a fucking go-between, which I think is pretty cool. You could just say what they said. Yeah, it turns out Inoki wants to win, Andy wants to fuck your wife. Okay, so Willie, the one for the fuck his wife part. I never said that. Yeah, I added it. You got negotiations, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so he says that you could win, but the first thing you have to do is cut your own dick off in the middle of the ring. Wait, what? He's like, yeah. He said you can keep it kayfabe, but I don't know how you're supposed to kayfabe cutting your own dick off in the ring. Because he's like, I want to see
At
the
least
blood.
circumcise yourself in the ring, yeah.
Yeah. You got to cut the head off. It's a thing with him. It's like he keeps being like, come on, do it for me. Do it for Antonio is what he keeps saying.
But this is the thing. He brought his actual tough guys. Actual toughies. Some real toughies. Carl Gotch was there. Ooh, some toughies were brought in. And it was not a shoot, of course, but it was very tense, as any non-shoot would be, because basically Williams has his entire karate camp around him, and Inoki has who he thinks are all his toughest shooters. Real toughy guys. Ooh, yum yum. Guys who don't fucking have ketchup on their grilled cheese like poo.
They do. Yeah, they do. They have
the driest fucking grilled cheese, not like wet. Ooh, I like when my grilled cheese, I dip it in water. I want nice wet little cheese. Ooh,
I do.
yeah.
I want my food wet. I don't want dry, disgusting food. You know what my favorite
wet
food is?
bread makes me really uncomfortable, and I don't.
I
know
really
why.
I like it when meat has the consistency of pieces of cereal that have been soaked too long in the milk.
Oh god, that fucking disgusts me.
That is so fucking gross. This meat is not waterlogged.
There was a double count-out finish at 124 of the fourth round. Inoki at least got takedowns, and Williams had to scramble the ropes, but it didn't look so one-sided, and Inoki saved face. But Williams didn't lose and looked better against Inoki than anyone else had. It was legendary. It was replayed for a long time. Different sports shows saw that double count-out finish when there would be stories on Inoki. His reputation grew, and because of the interest and how much felt like a real fight, because Inoki was involved. That's like Bret Hart being one of the like top 50 Canadians at the turn of the century. There's a lot of lists that people are not proud of because wrestling got in there.
It would be like it'd be like the equivalent I was thinking of in the middle of like if Bret left the WWF and his great vengeance was to beat Elvis Stoico in a match.
But like fucking Hogan, January 4th, for New Japan's biggest. Yep, go for it.
It cut out for a second. Just say what you said again, because I didn't hear you. I heard this. And then
Inoki and Williams was booked in the Tokyo Dome in 1997. There were no political issues, and Williams just lost to an octopus stretch.
Great. I love it. All those years, all those will they, won't they? And then he's just like, wait, how much? Yeah, I'll lose for that. It's been 17 years, and I'm a professional martial arts guy. I now work at an Arby's. I would like 6 figures.
My students will love seeing me lose to a weird made-up hold.
Exactly. My students all think that by the way, this, because if it's 97, I guarantee the WW, he was definitely just had a mall dojo and had convinced a lot of people of his toughness for doing weird things. Every Saturday, I go into the woods and someone uses my balls as a speed bag, and I don't move.
Inoki beat Backlund twice for the WWF title. Once kind of happened, even though they said they didn't, and the next one was a count out in 1980.
This is so wild. Yeah, because this is also the height of the late 70s, early 80s is the height of double cross. Harley Race usually managed the NWA champion when he went to Japan because it was notorious that they're like, listen, if they can, they're just going to pin you. Like, so don't fuck around here. Like, I think Ric Flair lost the belt a bunch of times on Japanese tours to various people, including Harley Race. And then they would just switch it back and be like, no, it didn't happen.
Well, didn't they, like, people would do that where they would come in and have too much heat against them. It's like, okay, you were supposed to win the title. Who did Flair lose to? That's famous, where it's like he came in, there was
there's
too
a
much
couple
heat
of times
on him, he just dropped the belt.
A bunch of times in Puerto Rico. I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, there's a famous time of he literally opened his hotel room. George Napolet or whatever the wrestling photographer named George was in his room and was like, you know who you're facing, and he's like, woo no, and he's like, open that window, and it was a guy running across a bridge with the entire town behind him, running towards the stadium. And he's like, that guy, you're facing that guy. And they came back once. Flair did a screw finish and had a gun pulled on him. So the only way he would do it is if he come back. But if he got to bring a heavy, and he brought Rowdy Roddy Piper was paid in a spittoon full of cocaine. And their entrance was Roddy Piper singing America the Beautiful and waving an American flag. He had a AK-47 pulled on him when he smashed the clock or did something that caused cheating. It was Victor Koinos, maybe? Or is that the guy who runs? Either way, I know that Ric Flair literally just lay on the mat and just went, pin me right now. Pinned him, gave him the belt, went, you're the champion. They left, had to stay in the stadium until 5 a.m. because the fans destroyed the stadium and fought the army. They were able to escape and for some reason go to a nightclub at 5 a.m. in an ambulance where Rowdy Piper did his entire spittoon full of cocaine and yelled at Ric Flair. Wrestling in the 80s was exactly it was.
It's fucking crazy. It's just a bunch of fucking like we've always said, influencers now are what wrestlers used to be. Weird, scummy roid heads. God bless them.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you like, by the way, this is where it's going for influencers in 10 years. They're going to be doing spittoons of cocaine in Puerto Rico. I mean, the Logan Paul already lives in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Jake Paul and Logan Paul already live in Puerto Rico. Exactly. Of course, they're already doing this.
They're already having huge tax disputes. They're already like, who is it that they're saying is like a tax cheat for Puerto Rico?
I don't know. Mr. Beast did something where it's like he made so much money last year, but he gave it all away, but he still has to pay taxes on the no money that he has or something. Like, it's all weird. Anyway, like his whole thing is like he makes more and more money, but he gives it all away just because then he gets more views, and then I don't know. Anyway,
I hate it. I hate it. Go ahead.
I love it. So Inoki in New Japan creates a feud that's basically the forerunner to WCW versus NWO. Riki Choshu turns on Tatsunori Fujinami and forms Ishigun, billed as a rival promotion working within New Japan against New Japan. And this led to a hot period of Japanese wrestling, 90% sellouts in 1983 until the promotion imploded from within. As with the JWA in 1971, when it was selling out every show as a lesson to WCW today, the same thing happened with the undercard wrestlers unhappy about their pay and position, particularly when Inoki was stricken with diabetes like a bitch and had to take 3 months off.
Dylan,
I take a dump. Diabetes gone now.
Do you know how he got that diabetes?
How?
Dry toast.
I'm telling you, man, ketchup's for fucking children.
No, it's not. It's for everyone.
It is. What do you put ketchup on?
Cake.
Agreed. Choshu and Akira Maeda became the new generation Baba and Inoki. Choshu and his All Japan pulling that company out of the fire, and Maeda quitting New Japan and setting the stage for the shoot fighting organization that became the old UWF in 1984 and basically evolved into today's actual MMA organizations, Rings and Pancrase.
That's crazy.
So this is like he set up, okay, finally these guys can take over. I've been on top for 10 years, and oops, they're all gone now.
Fascinating. I got to tell you.
But that's like weaved into Japanese wrestling. What Inoki did. Like, think about that. Like, think about if Hogan didn't quit for WCW. He quit and just was like, I made my own promotion. Now I run the promotion. I'm a millionaire now.
It's fascinating. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. But also, is it real or is it fake? Because that's what I can't figure out. Is it one of those things like in that storyline he created a fake promotion? Is it real that he did it, or was it New Japan money that seeded it? And you know what I mean? Because it's always that sort of thing of like, or was it literally just no? It just started a rival promotion spun off of Inoki's weird style of.
Well, I think this is the weird thing where it's I guess that is an interesting thought experiment where it's like how easy would it have been for because obviously you can't use the same style. But, like, if Kevin Nash would have just been like, okay, now I'm going to create the National Wrestling Organization, and it's called the NWO. I'm in it, so is Scott Hall. Like, I've taken all the NWO wrestlers. I can't use any of that branding, but I can just, like, make a completely different logo, use these initials. Or unless the WWE has copyrighted the NWO initials themselves, which they totally could have. So,
What is also
that's interesting because it's like you've already established this guy in the mind of – it's kind of like Trump and The Apprentice where it's like The Apprentice obviously just having him in that position of like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing and this guy's an authority helped him run for president. It's
what it is it's the unintentional marketing of perception. Donald Trump has never been a successful businessman, but he has always been perceived as being a businessman. And what we now know about human beings – and what we've already sort of known is they were like, yeah, so then he's a successful businessman. I don't like accountants, and I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, like, have you ever seen the show Ross Kemp on Gangs?
No, what the fuck is that? I want to watch that, though.
Ross Kemp was this dude who played, like, a tough guy on British television. I forget, he played, like, a fucking no-nonsense FBI guy or some shit. Anyway, and then that led to him having an actual real show where he literally went undercover. Not undercover, but he went in and did documentaries on, like, crazy gangs all over the world that are very, it was like, you could see how scared he is because he's like, I'm a fucking actor. So he just basically plays his character from television just so these people don't, like, suss out all of the theater school.
The better example is Gordon Ramsay is now just doing Louis Theroux style documentaries, but like he doesn't know how to be a broadcaster if it's not about food. So it's like it's still done in the clipped Gordon Ramsay, like, okay, so we are going to buy some baby laxative to cut with the Colombian Pure. You don't like, and you're just like, Gordon.
Is he actually? That's funny.
Yeah, he is. It's very weird. Like it's just him on a lot of sunlit beaches. Yeah, very bizarre. Also, by the way, I know a guy who writes for Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, go for it.
He said the greatest man he's ever met in his life, but that guy he literally is like, that guy works too much. It's crazy. He's got like 9 TV shows in 2 countries.
Gordon the bitch Ramsay.
Yeah, you know what he puts on his
yell at a single mom again, you fuckhead. You know what I like about Gordon Ramsay? Every single person he has on every one of his shows is shorter than him. I guarantee they're like, this guy has a really
funny.
He needs help, but he is 6'6", and it's like I have to look down on them.
Yeah, you're gonna need
I
to
have to look at. I have to fucking get in their face.
Do you think he does the old Mark Breslin? Did you ever have this when you talked to Mark Breslin, where he went and stood next? He made you stand next to stairs so he could stand 4 steps up, so you looked eye to eye. That's what I always remember about that guy.
No, I always crowded Breslin so he knows I'm way bigger than him, to be honest. Anyway, it's like very directly looking down on him like it's Hogan and Andre.
Yeah.
You got to let him know. So, did you they averaged 20 million viewers every Friday night between 1981 and 1983. New Japan did. That makes sense, though. Quit at the top like we are.
That's right. But here's the question. So this is the time when New Japan is definitely spanking all Japan. Yes, I'll be starting my new podcast, New Japan Pro Podcast. It's very choppy right now, so I don't know if Dylan is talking. Go ahead, Dylan.
Sorry, so this makes sense because New Japan's is this real? Is this real? One second. I hate bullshit.
Dylan, are you there?
Should be good now.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, it went off mobile hotspot for some reason.
Why would it do that?
So, what the fuck? What the jizz were we pissing about?
We're talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
it's the early 80s. It's New Japan.
Well, it just
Antonio
totally makes
Inoki
sense
is-
that New
yeah.
Japan would have, because they have to make all these guys who were stars in the JWA whole and like make them feel like stars, versus Inoki's like, I'll be on top of the card and we'll just build new stars at the bottom because we have fucking nobody. And it's kind of weirdly the problem that AEW is having, where it's like, we just at the point where everyone was like, Orange Cassidy, Sammy Guevara, and Jungle Boy are stars. They got a bunch of stars from NXT and now have to work those guys in. So they're kind of fucked, where it's like, you built your stars, and then rather than them getting the payoff, they have to lose to new guys to get them over. It's interesting conundrum, John.
It is a very interesting conundrum, and it's also really created two different locker rooms. And also, I think AEW is a bit too loose on who can say stuff on social media, because the Gunn brothers are really lightening up Jake Perry this morning.
Yeah, pretty much. Gun Brothers are fucking sick.
I gotta tell you, I don't disagree with their point where they're like, yeah, we can be on pay-per-views too if we dressed with the Bucks and stayed up until 6 a.m. with Tony Khan. And I'm just like, I'm liking this. I like this direction of wrestling. I like where wrestling's been like, hey, do you remember reality shows in the 2000s where they were really backbiting and bitchy? Yeah. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Real Housewives of AEW.
I really like that. The Gun Club is like, hey, Billy Gunn's youngest kid is just going to try and be Shawn Michaels, and the shorter kid's going to try and be Shawn Michaels, and the older one's just going to stand there like he's Billy Gunn, just with like a look in my face, I am confused. Billy Gunn never doesn't look confused in wrestling.
I disagree. I've got to tell you, now that he is in the Ass Daddy or
Daddy Ass,
Sesame Daddy Ass, he doesn't look confused. He's like, this is the role I was born to play. I was put on this earth to rub the insides of my fingers with these two gentlemen. It's
so funny to just be like, he's 60 years old. Like, what's your gimmick? I touch my own ass again. Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing where it's like, either I think I have a hot ass, or I want people to fuck me in the ass, or I want to fuck them in the ass. Either way, ass. That's my fucking.
Here's what I genuinely think what it is this. That song is really, really good that they wrote for him in the WWE, and it's been used so much by the internet that everyone's like, this guy's the ass guy, and I want to see more ass stuff.
I love to lick him. I love to kick him. I want to eat your ass, and then I want to beat the shit out of you.
A friend of mine who does not like wrestling but got obsessed with that song pointed out something, which is that and Hulk Hogan's theme song are the only two wrestling theme songs with more than one verse.
No, there aren't. That's a lie.
What other ones have two verses?
Batista's theme song, Edge's theme song.
No. Those don't count because those were written by other bands. I'm talking wrestling, although Hulk Hogan's actually sort of not, because Rick Derringer.
Shawn Michaels has more than one verse.
I don't think it does.
Yes, it does.
No, I think it only has that one verse. It had the time when he was with Sensational Sherry and she talked over it and she said all the things.
No,
she said
sang
more.
a lot. She sang the whole song, yeah, and then he started singing the song. Also, does Hulk Hogan's count then? Because Rick Derringer did that song, so isn't that the same thing as
I don't know if Rick Derringer does count. But yeah, I don't know. I think, okay, let me put this.
Demolition, which is the same thing. Rick Derringer.
Name of Jim Johnston that has two verses. Because I love to kick him.
You want a Jim Johnston song that has two verses? Well, let's get completely sidetracked.
Yeah, why wouldn't we? This is more important than Antonio Inoki. And also, by the way, this would really offend Antonio Inoki, which I enjoy as well.
What the hell, guys?
Oh, somebody call my mama. Sexual Chocolate. Break Down the Walls, the Jericho song, was by Jim Johnson.
You had me at Sexual Chocolate. I'm so glad that. Sexual. That song is insane.
Woman. Yeah, it's the best. Anyway, so fucking, you've been fucking cucked.
Um,
Cucked.
we paid too much for this guy. What are we gonna do? Let's give him the gimmick of he likes to have sex with people. And
No,
he,
they're
and
trying
then,
to make him quit, and it's like, all right, well, you fuck people, and he's like, oh, fucking shit. Yeah, sure. Do you know what? Do you know what the average salary for a strongman is after that's done? No. The answer is no. That's another weird sliding door. If Mark Henry came along now, he would just have his own supplement.
YouTube. Yeah, he'd have his own YouTube account. He would appear a
Yeah.
couple of
He'd
times.
be
on
like,
the
here's
Joe
what I
Rogan
eat in the day,
Experience.
and then
Yeah.
here's my supplement. And do I do steroids? No, I don't. Wink.
Yeah. Yeah, do you? I mean, by the way, there's now my Liver King obsession has entered into a new thing because now there's a whole
Okay.
ecosystem of people that are just confronting the Liver King in public about his abs.
That's all it is.
It's
Yeah.
the best. It's the best.
Everyone's like, "Are you natty?" And he's like, "Yeah."
No, this is my favorite, which is someone
It's
went,
good.
if you haven't had your abs etched, you'll be able to unclench them. And he went, how much do you need me to unclench them by? Because when I sleep, I still clench my abs. And it's just like, this guy's going to fucking, he's in it to win it. He's going to be president. President Liver King. We are 10 years away from President Liver King.
Liver King, all these fitness influencers, Are You Natty is the new, is wrestling fake. Everyone knows they do steroids. There's all these videos online where it's like, do you know how insane you would be if TikTok was around in 1981 and as people slowly doing like, as you can see here, this arm drag, he helps him up. It's like, yeah, they're clearly on steroids. Can't you just be like, that guy's lying and move on with your life rather than
No.
being like, no, I have to get him to admit it. Like, who cares? Anyway.
Dylan, you forget you're a dad. When you're not a dad, you need to fill the energy and the thought processes you have going towards keeping your child alive.
This is not about being a father. This is about
it is about being a father. It is about being a father because
No, it is not.
you would be.
That's not.
You would be
no,
making
I was never
TikTok
like it
videos.
before. Listen
Yes,
to our
you
last
were.
things. I'd just be like, okay,
That's not true. I
whatever. I got better shit to do.
hey,
I got to fucking make
hey,
video game characters that are named Professor Piss,
yeah, you're still doing that, and you have a son.
Captain Jizz. Yeah, Butch Piss is fucking taking the UFC by storm right now.
I was gonna say, I guarantee your UFC avatar is named
Butch
like
the Wolf Piss. The Wolf. I'm
Where's
gonna
he
hunt
hail
you down
from?
and
Does he
piss
hail
on your
from
fucking.
Stouffville,
No,
Ontario?
he's from Toronto twice. He's the only guy I've made who's actually from Toronto. Also, in video games, I like making characters that aren't just white guys, but it does feel weirdly racist while I'm like making
exactly
an
what
Asian
you're talking
guy's
about.
eyes, and I'm like, is this like cartoony? What am I doing here?
I
Is this
completely
okay?
agree with
Am I
you.
gonna get canceled?
Yeah, no,
You can't cancel what doesn't fucking won't stop, baby. Move on with your goddamn things, guys who make. I don't care. Anyway, so 1981.
Or like 1980 fun.
Bach, who I missed the name of. I don't know who Bach is, but fuck him.
Fuck 'em.
And Stan Hansen beat Inoki and Fujinami clean. Bach pins Fujinami with a double arm suplex. The move he beat Choshu and everyone else with. This set up a January 1st, New Year's Day, big time in Japan, match with Inoki. I really like that people in Japan seemingly, or at least some people in Japan, don't go to parties. They just watch wrestling or fighting.
Can I just tell you how much better New Year's Eve would be if they're like, hey man, you know, in your town you can just go watch wrestling? Like that would be so like there used to be
Christmas
like
wrestling's gone too.
I love Christmas wrestling. I would so go to Christmas wrestling. This is the first year I'm just like hanging out on Christmas. My mom's going to come in January. I'm going to Canada early to see a bunch of family for Christmas. If LA, attention Los Angeles wrestling promotions, if you guys held a wrestling card on Christmas Day night, I would be there so hard. I would be on edibles. I would need to be driven home. I would be dressed like Santa.
That's the interesting thing. It does really rely on you having a family and bringing them to wrestling, which a lot of people just would not do now.
No, absolutely not. Because one of those things is now that I've been traveling to the South, because I asked people, because you have people that like were our age, so they were like 4 or 5. People remember it, and they were like, "No, it was like the thing you did with your like." Everyone's like, "It's the divorced guy." They're like the guy who's like the son of divorce. He's like, "Yeah, when my dad got his apartment, we'd start going to wrestling on Saturdays because I was not allowed to go to that apartment because there was a naked woman there, or something like that."
So here's some fun stuff. Antonio Inoki loses to Hulk Hogan 20 minutes in. It was supposedly Inoki swallowed his tongue and went into convulsions after getting hit with the Axe Bomber, Hogan's fucking Japanese finisher, which a lot of people say this, and it is true. If Hulk Hogan had have just used the Axe Bomber and not the leg drop in North America, he would have been the TNA champion in 2012 because he would have just like still been able to do the Axe Bomber.
Yeah. He would have been. He'd be still like Vince McMahon would have gotten him in the ring for WrestleMania 38.
He could still do his finishing move, and it's so funny that how far ahead people just like, oh yeah, you'll be wrestling until you're 80, but it's like he could still do his finishing move even now. He's like largely immobile. It would just be him on a Segway because he can't move his legs.
Oh my
Fucking
God.
X-bombering people.
Guaranteed that they would have that in TNA. They have to.
He comes out in a wheelchair, goes into a Segway, and then beats AJ Styles. AJ Styles literally does a shooting star press and lands on his own head.
I want you to
that's
know.
my other move.
I want you to know this. That would still have been better than the Aces and Eights angle.
But Inoki fucks him over. Or sorry, Hogan fucks him over. Well, just really because when this whole Axe Bomber thing happens and they do this crazy big injury angle, it is June 2nd, 1983, and then of course what happens after that? Fucking Hulk Hogan puts on that fucking red and yellow baby, big dicks, small pussies, fucks someone's wife, wins the title.
So many titles.
He's not going to job anywhere in the world for anything. Fuck you. Suck my ass.
I got to get B. Brian Blair a job, Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yourself. He needs
His son needs to beat him up.
Still the best thing we ever learned on this podcast.
So, by the time the wrestling world had changed, obviously Hogan was WWF champion, and Vince McMahon would not let Hogan lose, which I think is great. At this point, it had been years since Hogan lost a match. The compromise was that Choshu would lariat Inoki and lariat Hogan outside the ring while they were fighting. Inoki would beat the 20 count. Hogan wouldn't. The nature of Inoki's win, due to Choshu's interference, wasn't satisfying, but it was the best they could get. The public didn't think so. The finish was so poorly received that the fans rioted at Soon Hall for 30 minutes, which just meant like...
What an absolute polite riot.
Yeah, 30 minutes. They was like, set the timer. We're going to push stuff over for exactly 30 minutes because we do have to get home soon.
A portion of their fans left the serviettes that were on the seats to make them seem hygienic were left unfolded.
New Japan was banned from using its flagship arena for more than 1 year. Hogan was no longer available regularly because he was needed in the U.S. full-time for the wrestling war in the North. I mean, war implies there was a second side. But yeah. The next year, the WWF New Japan
fur coat. Go ahead.
No, the New Japan relationship would break up. Choshu and many others, including Dynamite Kid, would leave New Japan for All Japan. Combined with losing Sayama, New Japan's golden age was over. Although they still did strong live business for the rest of the 80s. The 1984 television ratings and onwards showed that it was the end of the golden era. That's where we're going to end today, and we'll do Inoki, whatever. Next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please strap in for the next episode because this is Inoki the politician. This is the collision in Korea. This is WCW New Japan. You know what I'm saying?
This is where Inoki gets to pin Ted Turner and then pin Jane Fonda, if you know what I mean.
That's correct. There was a pay-per-view that was available.
They remade Barbarella and Inoki gets sucked off by Jane Fonda. That's the opening sequence.
God, I remember when Barbarella arrived at the Rogers video at Carly.
Oh, yeah.
It like spread through the word of the high school. Like, guys.
Pause and Jack, buddy. That's a pause and Jack.
Not only is Wild Things available to rent,
but
so is
Barbarella. Oh, yeah.
Fun fact about
what?
Ottawa, the only strip club in the downtown core called Barbarella's Diamonds.
Meaty cunts. That's what it's called.
That's in Canada.
There's shit in there too. That's what that's called.
That's in Barhaven. Dylan, best thing about Antonio Inoki.
During this period is that he trusted people and then they fucked him over.
I'd say
he gave them too much power. This is what every promoter learns. Maybe I should just win until I'm 80 because I don't want to ever have someone be like, I actually want to form my own company.
I hate that lesson. I don't agree with that lesson, and here's why. Because I think the promoters are just waiting for that point to be proved. So when it is, they're like, I fucking told you. And it's like, that's one example. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like how I believe that the earth is flat. So every time a ball doesn't roll, I'm proven correct.
But wrestling is not like movies, obviously. But hear me out here. Hear me out here. If they did pretty much exactly the storyline that they did in the Avengers, which obviously is the highest grossing movies of all time. Mm-hmm. But if they did that in wrestling, there's no way Thanos doesn't just like quit before at some point just to be like, yeah, I beat all your guys super easily, so now I'm going to go do my own fucking thing where I look like a fucking monster.
Yeah, what would happen is you'd get first of the second of the Avengers, like the first Avengers Infinity War, you'd get there. And then as soon as Thanos snapped it, he's like, I actually got better money from Ted Turner, who owns another galaxy. I'll see you in hell.
Yeah, which is so important. That's why it's so important to have someone like Brock Lesnar, who literally is like, you want me to lose to who? A chip bag? How full is the chip bag? Just kidding. I'll be there.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm
Do you
going to punch
understand-
the chip bag a bunch, though, because I still want to have a comeback match in 3 months. Like I
Here's
said.
here's the only people I will not lose to: my wife, my children.
Mhm.
I always beat them. I'm like, what? I still want to say this. I want, and I will
want
go to my
to say
grave wanting to know what Brock Lesnar shouted at the crew when he walked out the day Vince McMahon was fired. I want to know what he yelled, but I know it's not something he wants out there because he's definitely picking a side.
Oh, when Vince McMahon got fired?
Yeah.
Well, he loves Vince, right?
I think he more hates women, is what if I had to guess anything about old Brocky
He
Lockie.
doesn't believe women.
Yeah, he does not believe women. Like,
What was the thing Lita had on her tights? Speak out. I think she
Yeah.
had speak out. Yeah. Yeah, he has don't speak out on his.
Yeah. Yeah. No talking.
Don't.
He has no talk. Yeah. That,
No talking. Get that fucking ketchup off your fucking grilled cheese. Eat a real soup, not tomato soup. That'll inflame you. Too many lectins. Next
oh my God,
episode's
what are
about
you on
lectins.
TB12? Are you on TB12? No
Next
nightshades.
fucking.
Only food.
That's literally what I'm supposed to do for my psoriasis is stay away from lectins. That's like doctors told me that.
You got to read the TB12 diet. It's insane. You got to read. You got to drink.
What? Tom Brady?
The Tom Brady diet.
Kiss
you
your
drink
son.
You drink
Eat a
half.
sandwich. Kiss
You
your
drink
son.
half your body weight in water every day.
So I drink 1 pound of water a day. I weigh 2 pounds.
He certainly does. It's the diet's the best. No nightshades. Very specific greens.
My favorite thing, and this you can watch for this every year, and someone chronicled it on Twitter, is watching Tom Brady get Botox and watching his face adjust to that Botox because he fucking gets,
Yes,
fucking the most
he does.
Botox he could possibly get, and then his face adjusts to it slowly over the year. So everyone's like, "Oh, Tom Brady looks good," but if you see him in week 1, he's just like, "Rrr, rrr." Anyway, we're back next week with Inoki. You know what? Unfollow us on everything. We're fucking done, bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are over. This show is now entering its. The company's already gone bankrupt, but they're paying us till February phase.
This reminds me of when I worked an office job, and there was an accountant there who did like private accounting for stuff. He's like, "Yeah, I had a crazy meeting with a guy right now." A guy was like, basically, the accountant was like my boss. He was like, "Yeah, you're fucked," and the guy was like, basically, just took like he met at a fancy restaurant, took a giant chugged a thing of wine. He's like, well, let's see how far we can get. And then it was basically like, I'm riding this thing out to the fucking end. Fuck this.
What company was this? Was it when you worked for the butler did it?
The butler did it.
Oh my God. Guys, that was the best time in Dylan and mine's friendship because I would just meet him out front because I lived like 10 minutes away on a bike and I'd meet him out front for cigarettes and we'd gossip about open mics.
I worked 4 hours a day. I got my work done in 2, and the other 2 was spent just publicly not doing work. What was it? Oh, so one real thing. If you guys are in the $25 tier or $20 tier, get all of your requests into us. We will fulfill those requests before the end of this podcast. And the other thing is we have special shirts. They should be up now. This is released on Sunday. Earlier than that for patrons, but we're having special shirts sent out. Patreon says it takes 3 months to ship the shirts out. And we've done it 3 months ahead of time so we can get those shirts to you. I'm going to contact Patreon. If there's any problems, we will let you know. Or not the worst thing, but like the thing that may have to happen is everyone just cancel your fucking Patreon subscription in February and you'll get the shirts. It's just we'll have to keep the Patreon active till March.
Yeah. But
we'll keep the Patreon active until you guys get your shirts. Because it gives me emails on where you got your shirts, and then we'll close it all up.
Also, I just want to say we announced the day today of the recording. Thank you so much to everyone who has emailed me or our social media accounts to say really nice things about the show. We've really appreciated doing it. We're going to make sure that this is a very fun, and we're going to give this stupid podcast for all of you stupid listeners that stupid listen a very fun last couple of episodes. We have someone very special that we are doing for our final episode.
Not Colt Cabana.
It is not Colt Cabana. It is with a guest we've hired That's right. CM Punk spent all his money. We've used all of our. Guess who is? He is coming and doing a shoot interview. That's right. We're getting CM Punk. I'm lying. We're not getting CM
No, we
Punk.
get CM Punk.
Yeah, we got CM Punk.
What was the other one? Oh yeah, and I think we're gonna do like multiple series episodes, but like release them all in one day.
Yeah, you're gonna get a bunch of just really.
You're gonna get like a 4-part series on somebody just one Sunday. So
yeah, you're in for it. Yeah, we're doing the big dogs. The Junkyard Dog, Moondog Spot, a wrestler that I invented for some wrestling video games, Red Dog, named after Red Dog beer from when I was a child.
my dog from when I was a kid.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Dylan's dog, Roberta.
My dog. Sean DeLise. Anyway, goodbye, everyone.
See you in hell.